We're going to talk about sex, and there's nudity in today's lecture. So this is one of the things that you have to be aware of. If you don't want to see nudity, then today's lecture, you should probably skip today's lecture. Um, and the reason is because we're going to talk about human reproduction. We're going to talk about reproduction, and human reproduction is part of that. So let's go ahead and get started. Sex, evolutionary, hormonal, and neural bases of sex. Of course, without sex, none of us would be here. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about what's going on. First of all, we're going to talk about the four stages of reproductive behavior. In humans, and I just taught this in, what class was that I just taught this in? Wait a minute, one of these classes. Maybe it was in lifespan development. I think it was lifespan development. I just talked about sex. Anyway, according to them, and according to most of the scientists today, when we're talking about humans, we're talking a little bit different because in order for sexual attraction to occur, there has to be desire. Before any of this starts, there has to be desire to have sex. So stage one, we'll just start as far as this class is concerned. Stage one with all animals is sexual attraction. In most species, sexual attraction cannot take place until the female is ready to reproduce, and that's almost all species. There is no such thing as rape as far as cows and horses and pigs are concerned. This can be judged by whether males approach her and how rapidly they approach her. The female will show attraction to the male by whether she allows him to approach. A good example is the wolverine. Wolverines are very vicious animals, and they live alone. They live alone until it is breeding time, and then the female will put off pheromones. I'm sorry. She'll put off pheromones, and the male will approach her. If it is, they're very territorial. So if she's not ready to reproduce, then she will drive him off, or she'll kill him because, like I said, they're very territorial. And anyway, and I've seen wolverines. We had wolverines up in Montana, and I saw them on several different occasions. They are very singular, except I saw a mother wolverine with two pups or cubs or whatever they call them. Anyway, yeah, that was really kind of interesting. But normally, she will not let the male anywhere close to her. In many mammalian species, a female will demonstrate her approachability through swelling in the vaginal area that is a different color and an odor regulated by a surge in estrogen. And of course, those are the pheromones that I was talking about before. In most species, intercourse is not possible without full female cooperation, and I'll explain to you why in just a second. Stage two, appetitive behavior. Behavior that establishes, maintains, or promotes sexual behavior. When a female is displaying this behavior, she may approach a male, she may stay close to the male, she may show alternating approach and retreat behavior, she may move in a specific manner that will result in the male mounting the female. Of course, in the case of a wolverine, it's the only time the male can get anywhere close to the female. This is known as proceptive behavior. Male appetitive behavior may consist of staying near and sniffing the female. Not, of course, in the wolverine, they don't get anywhere close to the female the rest of the time. Stage three is copulation or coitus. Copulation begins when the male puts his penis in the female's vagina, an act known as intromission. Through rhythmic movements, the male will then squirt sperm-filled semen into the female's reproductive tract. After copulation, the two will go through a period when they will not be able to re-engage in intercourse. This is known as the refractory phase. However, a male presented with another female may show a shorter refractory phase. This is called the Coolidge effect. And the reason it's called Coolidge is for President Calvin Coolidge. He was actually in in Iowa. It was either Iowa, Kansas, or Nebraska. It was in the Midwest somewhere in this part of the world. And they went to a chicken farm, and he and his wife, and they were wandering around, and they were showing them the chickens, and uh, the rooster was breeding the females. He was inseminating the females, and the wife said, "Look at that, Calvin. Look how he's inseminating all the chickens." And he said, "Yeah, look at that. But the other thing is that he was breeding with more than one chicken. He was, there was a whole series of chickens in the coop, and he was inseminating all of them." He said, "Yeah, well, if you bring me more than one female, I can go over and over and over again as well." And that's actually what the Coolidge effect is the fact that if you present the male with more than one female, he can have intercourse with one, then he can have intercourse with the other. Otherwise, his refractory period is a little bit long, is much longer actually. And I've seen the Coolidge effect. I was in Germany. I went to the zoo in Germany, and the baboon it was breeding season, and there were probably five or six females around, and they were walking around the male, and he had an erection. And of course, the Germans just thought this was the greatest thing in the whole wide world. And what he would do, the females that were walking around him were the ones that were ready to reproduce, and he would grab one of them, and he would intromission would take place, and he would pump them a couple times and then throw them off. And he just did this over and over again. The Germans thought it was the greatest sex show in the world. They were calling their friends up, and it's really kind of weird. Anyway, Coolidge effect. When a female is ready to copulate, she will be sexually receptive, of course. Stage 4 is post-copulatory behavior. This is different in most species, the males of all mammals, but primates achieve and maintain their erections with a bone in their penis called an os penis. An os penis, os means bone, and so cows, horses, dogs, cats, mice, badgers, wolverines, they all have a bone that they utilize to allow the penis to become hard. Primates, on the other hand, engorge their penis with blood, and that's how it becomes stiff. Sometimes, as with dogs, the male is unable to remove themselves from the copulatory position for minutes after ejaculation, and the male and female get stuck because his os penis has moved. Normally, what happens is that when she's in the right position, her vagina is straight, so that he can intromission can take place. And then if she moves or gets in another position, then he cannot, because the bone's in there, he can't pull out. And of course, they're going to have to wait until she gets back into that position before he can pull his penis out. The whole purpose of copulation is the joining of the male and female gametes, the ova in the female, of course, and the sperm in the male. If the two join, the ova will become fertilized and the union will become a zygote. While all mammals, birds, and most reptiles fertilize inside the body, internal fertilization, fish and frogs fertilize outside the body. This is known as external fertilization. If the species lays eggs outside the body, as birds and reptiles do, it is called oviparity. That means egg birth. If the species allows a zygote to develop in the female's body, it is referred to as viviparity, or live birth, because they will be born alive. For most creatures, there is only one sexual position they can be in for copulation to be possible. Since most mammals walk on all fours and have a tail, reproduction can only take place if the female raises her rump and moves her tail to the side. This will usually straighten her vagina adequately for penetration. And this is known as lordosis. And this is a position for a cat. Intercourse is not going to take place if she's just standing up because her vagina is curved and the tomcat's penis is straight, and she has to raise her rump and tilt down her body in order to straighten out her vagina enough for intromission to take place. For frogs to mate successfully, the male must mount the female. There's no penetration, but as the female emits her unfertilized eggs, the male must release his semen. If this does not take place in or over water, reproduction will not take place. This position is known as amplexus, and these are the eggs that have been fertilized, and this is the position that the male and female have to be in. And she will release the eggs, and he will release his semen at exactly the same moment. While sexual response is extremely complex, the female anatomy for intercourse is relatively simple. Two folds of skin cover and protect the vaginal opening. These are the labia majora, and the labia minora. Why do they call it minora and majora? Because the labia means lips, so the labia majora are the outside lips, they're the larger lips, and the minora are smaller lips that are inside the vaginal opening. The female erectile tissue is the clitoris above the vaginal opening, and you can see where the clitoris is. Well, it doesn't have it over here, but it's right there. It's right above the vaginal opening. The clitoris is the erectile tissue of the female, just as the penis is the erectile tissue of the male. And as a matter of fact, they are almost identical in structure. Of course, the female clitoris is much smaller than the male, than the human male penis. Since male delivery of the gamete requires penetration, the male system is more complex than that of the female. Well, let's go back and look at her. So potentially all that is happening, I say all that's happening. All that's happening as far as the female is concerned is that intromission takes place. The penis is placed inside the vagina, and the cervix is about 3, maybe 4 inches inside the vaginal opening, and that is where the semen needs to go in order to impregnate the female. This is the uterus is right here. There we go. How deep is it? Actually, this is expansive. It can how deep is it? It can expand to fairly significant depth. But if he ejaculates his semen, he needs to ejaculate it close to the cervix so that the vast majority of it will be able to swim up into the uterus and into the fallopian tubes. What else did I want to say? And that's it. I mean, that's the vagina is here, and that's it. That's pretty much all it takes is for the male to ejaculate his semen into the vagina. However, the male reproductive system is a lot more complex than the female. Erection takes place due to an engorgement of blood as far as humans are concerned. Semen is produced in the testes and stored in the epididymis. Epididymis is on top of the testis, each testis. During ejaculation, sperm travels up the vas deferens, past the seminal vesicle for the prostate gland and the Cowper's gland, where it picks up a viscous alkaline fluid called semen. And if it's not alkaline enough, it will not neutralize the acidity of the female reproductive tract. The female reproductive tract is very acidic, and the reason it's so acidic is to protect the female from bacteria. If bacteria get into the vaginal area, into the reproductive area, this is very rich tissue, and because of that, there's a huge necessity to protect it from outside substances, such as viruses, yeast, bacteria, fungus. Any number of things could get into there and create an infection. And of course, if that happens, then the female will not be able to reproduce. So what has to happen is the female reproductive area has to be very relatively acidic. And in order for the semen to be able to neutralize the acidic reproductive tract of the female, the semen has to be alkaline, very alkaline. Normally, the male is not erect because cells in the glands of the penis, the paragigantocellular nucleus, send serotonergic fibers down the spinal cord that inhibit erection. Otherwise, he'd walk around with an erection all the time, and that doesn't happen. There is a problem that select males do have, priapism, but that is very, very rare. Most males do not walk around with an erection. During sexual excitation, the forebrain inhibits the PGN and allows the penis to become erect. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors increase serotonin in the brain and may not allow the inhibition of the PGN. So the biggest problem that males have is that that's not a problem. Okay, so if the testosterone in the hypothalamus creates the sex drive. So if males had weren't able to control their testosterone levels, if they had too much testosterone, what would happen would be that he would have an erection on a relatively frequent basis. So in order for males to be socially acceptable to people, then they have to control themselves. And the way that they control themselves is through serotonin. Now you can imagine, go back 10, 50, 100,000 years ago, if you had somebody that had an erection all the time, and of course they're trying to live in groups. If there was an individual with an erection all the time, then that would be socially unacceptable. So potentially what would happen if you have a mate and this guy's trying to have sex with your mate on a frequent basis, you would probably kill the guy. Okay, so in order to control, for society to exist, males need to control their testosterone levels, and this is done through serotonin. So the people that are socially acceptable, the males that are socially acceptable, are the ones who have controlled testosterone levels or enough serotonin in their hypothalamus to control their testosterone. Now, of course, if we give you superficial external substances, external serotonin, then what will happen is like SSRIs, which increase your serotonin level in your brain. Then potentially what it will do is arrest the testosterone, and therefore you won't be able to have an erection. Whew. Okay. It does the same thing with the female, except the difference is that the female will lack a sex drive, and so does the male. The male lacks a sex drive because of the serotonin. Of course, if you're young enough, taking SSRIs doesn't really do that to you. If you're older, as you get older, your testosterone level decreases, and of course, this is what potentially happens. You lose your sex drive. Well, there is no normal or typical when it comes to sexual response. There's too many social and psychological factors. Women achieve vaginal lubrication during the excitement phase. Males have a smaller amount of lubricating exudate during erection to ease penetration. Males typically have one basic pattern of response, but they do pass through a refractory phase after orgasm when erection is difficult. Females, however, rarely have a refractory phase, thus multiple orgasm is possible, but have three typical patterns of response. And these are the three typical patterns of response, A, B, and C. This is There you go. This is the plateau where you're sexually excited for, how whatever. And like I said before, there is no typical. Uh, who knows? Anyway, I'm this is potentially a what is commonly called a quickie. So you're in a situation where you have to have sex really fast. That's it right there. Anyway, not important. Every Everybody's different. In many situations in nature, the males and females of the species are very much different in size as well as structure. And this is known as sexual dimorphism. In most vertebrates, the male is larger because he must battle other males for the right to reproduce. Therefore, he's larger. Another definition of sexual dimorphism is that the male gamete is abundant, small, and cheap, while the female gamete is large, rare, and expensive. Now, there's a reason I have J-Lo here because J-Lo has been married a number of times. And selecting a mate is really quite important. Because of the low cost of producing sperm, males can easily gather enough nutrients and energy to impregnate millions of women. Literally, they could do this. Of course, they would have to have intercourse on a relatively frequent basis. Could they produce enough sperm in order to do this? Uh, Males produce about between 37,000 to 40,000 sperm per second. That's how many sperm they produce. So could they do this? Well, yeah, they kind of could, I guess. I guess it all depends on when they started and when they died. Whether males are selective or not, the odds are that they will have some offspring that survive. So even if they just have sex with anybody that's a female, anything in a skirt, as it were, um, then potentially at least some of their offspring would probably survive. Females, on the other hand, since they can produce thousands of them, females, on the other hand, have to be more selective, mainly because it takes her 9 months to produce a child. It takes a male only seconds to have intercourse and therefore potentially impregnate somebody. And then he goes on to the next individual. Females that carefully nurture their costly eggs are more likely to have offspring that survive to be the next generation. Thus, females must mate carefully. Males that carry many beneficial genes are more likely to provide the female's offspring with favorable genes. But how does a woman do this? And of course, this is a picture of Ben Affleck. When I first put this picture in here, she just dated Ben Affleck and had never married him. Well, now she's married him. I think she's probably too old to reproduce at this point. I think she's in her 50s, if I'm not mistaken. And she's only reproduced one time. She had a set of twins with Mark Anthony. And here's the rest of her husbands. Uh, and I don't know any of their names except for Mark Anthony. She had a set of twins with Mark Anthony. And I think those are the only children she's had. Don't really keep up with J Lo, but I find it very interesting that her selection of mates is kind of fascinating. The female must closely observe the appearance and behavior of the male. A vigorous, healthy male is more likely to carry good genes than an unhealthy one. Thus, courtship is a period when the female assesses the genetic makeup of a male to judge the suitability as a mate. And of course, potentially that's what she did with all of these individuals. And not only that, but for a while she was dating Alex Rodriguez, the baseball player. She is divorced from Ben Affleck now, I think. They got married about a year and a half ago, and now they are no longer together. So, what will she do in the future? Well, she's wealthy. She's attractive enough to certainly attract a mate. So we'll just have to keep our eyes on what's going on with J Lo. There you go. There are four mating strategies that are used in the animal kingdom to ensure offspring survival. The first is promiscuity, having sex as frequently as possible. Females will mate with more than one male or as many as they can in any mating season, and this is what happens with chimpanzees. Female chimpanzee will come into estrus. It's time to breed, and she will have sex with her uh, with a select male first, and then the other males after that, other males in the tribe after that. This will ensure that the male with the most attributes going for him is more likely to be the sire. So since the mate is the first one, maybe that's it. Maybe, but what happens with chimpanzees? Chimpanzees produce a lot more sperm than humans do. And the reason is because they need a lot of sperm in order to potentially be the sire of the offspring, as weird as that sounds. Polygyny, also known as polygamy, is where the male maintains a harem of females that he will exclusively mate with. Most ungulates mate in this fashion, as do gorillas and the elephant seals. This is also practiced among humans in many parts of the world. And this is an individual with four wives. This is the individual, and that's his new wife. This is his number three wife. That's number two wife. That's number one wife. Gorillas, of course, will maintain a harem. Gorillas, interestingly, I just talked about chimpanzees producing tons and tons of sperm. Gorillas, on the other hand, don't produce as much as humans do, but they maintain harems. As curious as all that is. Polyandry is rarer than polygyny, but is still known to occur. In polyandry, one woman mates with more than one man, but those men can only mate with a single female. This is practiced in Tibet, where a woman will usually marry a set of brothers. And in this case, this is the woman right here, and this is one brother, and this is the other brother. Polyandry. Monogamy is the most prevalent mating method among humans. In monogamy, a pair will form a mating pair where exclusive access is maintained between both the male and the female. This seems to be the best manner in which a woman can gain resources from the male when he must provide for his children to ensure that they survive. Sexual selection takes place when the female selects the male that they wish to mate with. Sexual selection among birds is the most garish of all creatures. In order to attract a female, a male will weigh themselves down with impossible structures, such as the peacock's tail. And of course, the male with the largest tail is the one that is normally selected by the female to breed with. Some species participate in intricate mating rituals during courting that are not only garish, but call attention to themselves from predators. Almost all male birds have intricate songs that they can sing in the spring during mating to attract a female. In some species, courting is extensive. Among large cats, only vigorous exercise over several days will bring the female to ovulation. And interestingly, my grandson came over to visit this weekend, and we were walking, and we have a number of birdhouses, and he was looking in the birdhouses to see what's going on in the birdhouses, and males have built nests, and that's how they attract the female, is by building a nest and inducing the female, saying, "Hey, look, my nest is nicer than everybody else's nest." And they're already building nests in the birdhouses, and we've only had a couple warm days here, so it's really kind of interesting that they have done that. As far as large cats are concerned, the cheetah, for example, in order for a female cheetah to reproduce, and this is one of the reasons that they're so hard to breed in captivity, is because a female cheetah has to run for 2 or 3 days in order for them to ovulate. And what will normally happen with the large cats, especially with the cheetahs, is that two brothers will chase her. One will chase her, and as soon as he gets tired, then the other will chase her. And they can't let her stop. They can't let her slow down, because if she slows down, then they won't. Then they won't. She won't ovulate. This is a prairie chicken or prairie hen, and they have this amazing, intricate mating ritual where the male has to induce the female to want to breed with them, and they do this by making all these loud, extremely loud noises, and that is anyway. Wodambi males of Niger trying to charm females with eye movements and makeup. We're going to see the Wodambi right now. This is really fascinating.
The men sing and sway to gain attention. They flutter their cheeks, cross and roll their eyes and grin. Whites of eyes and teeth are considered particularly beautiful. A man who can roll one eye and grin at the same time is considered especially desirable. The Garawal bring two different Wodobi lineages together, allowing each clan to propagate. Parents arrange first marriages at birth, and only cousins of the same lineage may marry. After that, they may seek a partner from another lineage. Mo Reube works his charm on Maria Moore. It appears to be working. The young wife decides she will allow him to steal her from her husband.
I'm with a husband that I don't like, and when I saw More Ube, he was the best. He was better than any of the others, so that's why I agreed to marry him and go home with him.
A Wodambi woman can't be taken against her will, though what More Ube is about to do in the name of love can still have fatal consequences.
If they get caught en route, then the husband has the right to require her to come back. If she disagrees, doesn't want to go back, there can often be a fight, and it can be to the death.
More Ube must plan carefully to steal his new wife and not lose his life.
I go to see the girl, and I explain to her that I want her. And if she says that she wants me, then I look for her husband. If he doesn't see me, I sneak up on the ground. If she accepts, I say come and look around. If I hear somebody coming, I hide.
The moment of truth arrives. Under cover of darkness, More Ube heads toward Maria Moore's camp, not knowing if he will be greeted by her husband's sword.
The ideal is if she makes it all the way to the new husband's house without being caught, and then she has the full right to stay.
The new day will reveal whether More Ube's dangerous gamble pays off. The Wodambi are nomadic. They travel the desert and its fringes in extended family groups. This Garawal is an opportunity to mix between those groups and widen the gene pool for each clan. The men can have many wives, but when a Wodambi woman becomes pregnant, she will return to her mother's home, where she will remain for 3 or 4 years. During that time, she must not see or speak with her husband, and he is free to gather more wives. It is early morning, the day after the Garawa. Moreube returns from his quest. Last night, the game of love went his way. When he snuck into Mariam Moore's camp, fate or good fortune were on his side. Her husband was not there.
What's your worst assignment horror story?
I had a 10-page paper, and that didn't turn out too well. Just last night, actually, I had to do 20 idea journals in 2 hours.
Okay, that's the Wadabi. The Wadabi are really kind of interesting because they consider themselves the most beautiful people, the humans on Earth. And that's one of the reasons why they do all these things. That's why the males paint themselves up like this. Let's look at the Maasai. The Wadabi live in the southern Sahara Desert. They live in Niger, in Chad, and portions of the Congo and Nigeria. And let's look at the Maasai. They live in Eastern Africa. And their mating ritual is a little bit different.
Watch where you're stepping.
Okay, that's the Maasai. Now, the reason they were jumping up and down is because the Maasai are herdsmen, and they live in an area. You saw how much vegetation there was around them. In order for them to keep their cattle safe from lions, they have to be constantly aware of what is going on around them. So jumping up and down has to do with them watching their herds. Now, the interesting thing is that the Wadabi are also herdsmen, but where they live, it's mostly desert, and therefore they don't have to, or they don't jump up and down. As you can see, that both of them are relatively slender people. But you notice the individual with the hat. The reason he had a hat on was because he had killed the lion. And that's the mane from the lion. He has created a hat from that. And the person that jumps the highest, theoretically, of course, as far as the females in the tribe are concerned, is the most desirable of all the individuals. And so jumping up and down is the way that they show their ability to provide. Oops. There we go. And I thought I would show you the females from both groups. This is the Wadabi females, and these are the Maasai females. And of course, the Wadabi consider themselves the most beautiful of all human beings. I'm sure the Maasai do as well, but there you go. Sexual selection. So the Wadabi select, when they're looking for a mate, They're looking for an individual that can move their eyes and smile at the same time. And the Maasai women are looking for somebody that can jump high so that they can see the lions. Sexual differentiation takes place among most humans while still in the womb. The sperm either carries a male or female chromosome. All ova are female. All ova are X's. So if it was up to the mother, all of her babies would be female babies. Thus, males are the heterogametic sex because of the two different chromosomes, X or Y, while females are homogametic. Both of them they always produce X's. Very early in the development, the gonads are not differentiated, and this is known as the indifferent gonads. In mammals, the Y chromosome contains an SRY gene that is responsible for the development of the testes. If the individual has a Y chromosome, the cells of the indifferent gonads begin making SRY protein. The SRY protein causes the core of the cells to proliferate over the outer layer of the cells, and the gonad becomes a testis. And that's what it produces. Just kidding. Not all males look like that. If the individual has no Y chromosome, no SRY protein is produced, and the indifferent gonads form with the outer layer dominant and the inner core is inhibited, and therefore they become a female. This, of course, is a female, but I'm guessing she's taking testosterone, and that's why she is so large. A little joke, sorry. As the fetus begins to form, they develop two ducts that connect the indifferent gonads to the cell wall. These are the Wolffian ducts and the Mullerian ducts. If bathed in testosterone from the testes, the Wolffian duct will develop. If not, the Mullerian duct will develop. If the SRY protein is released by the Y chromosome, the gonads become testes and bathe the area in testosterone. The Wolffian duct develops into the vas deferens, the epididymis, and the seminal vesicle. The Mullerian duct disappears. The genital tubercle becomes a penis, and the genital fold becomes a scrotum. If both the chromosomes are X's, the gonads become ovaries. The Mullerian duct develops into the fallopian tubes, the uterus, and the inner vagina. The Wolffian duct disappears. The genital tubercle becomes a clitoris, and the genital fold becomes the labia majora and minora. So if it's a female, the clitoris, that structure becomes a clitoris. If it's a male, it becomes a penis. If it's a male, the testes and scrotum form, but the same structure in the female becomes the labia majora and labia minora, the two lips of the vagina, the inner and outer lips. Testosterone from the testes releases a hormone called anti-Mullerian hormone that shrinks the Mullerian duct. It causes tissue around the urethra to form a prostate gland. It causes epithelial tissue around the urethra to form a scrotum and a penis. The epithelial cells have 5-alpha reductase, which converts testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, which allows masculinization. If the sperm or ova do not have a sex chromosome, the individual will have only one X chromosome. This individual has Turner syndrome and will be a female. They will be of short stature and not develop secondary sexual characteristics. And this is a famous actress who has Turner syndrome. She was on NCIS. She was on NCIS Los Angeles. Her last name's Hunt. I can't remember her first name. And this is the case of somebody with Turner syndrome. This is the individual with Turner syndrome. This is her sister, who is actually younger than she is. And once again, this is somebody with Turner syndrome, and that is her sister. If the female fetus is exposed to androgens in the uterus, she might develop congenital adrenal hyperplasia. The overactive adrenal glands will produce more androgen and cause genitalia that appears as either an undersized penis or an oversized clitoris. And this is it right here. And that's the reason I'm showing you this, to show you what it looks like for an individual who is suffering from congenital adrenal hyperplasia. Since the androgen receptor is on the X chromosome, if an XY individual has a defective androgen receptor, they will not be sensitive to andronergic hormones. These individuals are referred to as androgen insensitive. These individuals will develop external female genitalia and develop all secondary female sexual characteristics except for having menarche and having a shallow vagina. Now, these are relatively rare. Turner syndrome, the congenital adrenal hyperplasia, these are relatively rare. It very rarely happens. And this is what an individual who has who is androgen insensitive. That's what they look like. There are a group of males in the Dominican Republic whose 5-alpha reductase, which converts testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, which allows the penis and the scrotum to form, is mutated. Despite the fact that the individual has an XY chromosomal structure, the lack of 5-alpha reductase does not form a penis. The area that looks like a vagina has no vaginal opening. This is what they look like at birth. Well, this is what they look like at age 4. So as you can see, they don't look like males. They look like they're a female. But the vagina does not have a vaginal opening. Because they do have testes, with puberty, their bodies are bathed in testosterone and their penis develops. Their hips will narrow and their build turns obviously masculine, just like this individual. These individuals who were raised and acted like females suddenly begin looking and acting like males. Most will become males. They're known as guavadoces, which means eggs at 12. In other words, when puberty takes place, all of a sudden they start changing their appearance. And here's an individual. This is the same one we just saw at 4 years old. There they are at 8 years old. Here they are at 12. And here they are at 19. And he does have a penis and he does have a scrotum. So it's difficult to tell if this individual was going to be a male or a female. And as you can see, he's making his arms big. So, and there's an individual that chose not to become a male. She has developed breasts, but she has a penis and a scrotum. Guavadoces. There's an individual who decided to become female, but she has some male characteristics. This is an individual that, and he's with his friend, he's with several of his female friends, and he decided to become a male. So there you go. That's it. I'll talk to you next week. Kind of interesting. The nudity, of course, certainly wasn't pornographic. Anyway. Okay. I'll talk to you next week.